Hello and welcome to Creative Momentum with Meg. This is part of the second season, the home season, which features interviews with Australian writers and artists. In this episode, episode 6, I chat with Alice Garner and Dave Bowers. Alice and Dave are a creative couple who have been together for over 40 years, and they've been making things together for pretty much all of that time. Dave is an illustrator, painter, musician, songwriter, cook, gardener, all of the things. And Alice is a cellist, actor, oral historian, and audio editor. Together, they form a band with a couple of other people called the Sunshine Tip Band, and they're currently working on a new album, so please do check them out. You can find them on Bandcamp. This conversation is all about their creativity, what it looks like for them to live a fully creative life together, and what that means for them individually as creatives as well as together as a couple. About what the give and take is, how to really pull that off. And I guess, after 40 years, they've got a lot of experience in that way. It's a really lovely interview at their home where, we have the dog, the cat, and the kids all popping in at various times. I really hope you enjoy this interview, and I'll see you on the other side.
I'm David Bowers. I studied graphic design at Monash, and but never really adapted to the change of technology when everything went digital. I just was not interested in, and my brain doesn't work with digital. It just doesn't. So I sort of slowly steered towards illustration more, and ended up working for Mambo, doing t-shirt prints for them, which sort of involves, humour and wit and coming up with concepts as well as being visually sort of, competent and to have good ideas and stuff and good technique, which kind of got me into painting because Mambo wanted things to be painted. They didn't want you to send a digital file. So I sort of taught myself painting by working for Mambo, and then when Mambo sort of changed hands and Mambo sort of went off the rails a bit, I continued painting as a visual artist, just my own stuff. So that's how that's my path into being a painter. And I've always been a musician as well, starting, an original band with my school buddies and my brother back when, we just were teenagers really, and never stopped playing music since then, and just following whatever door opens, and then just keep going. And so now, I feel like I've got a lot of experience under my belt singing lots of different styles and working with lots of different genres and different people. And we've got an original band now with Alice here called Sunshine Tip, which I think is really the sort of culmination of all those years of absorbing all this music from all different directions and becoming comfortable as a writer. I write songs when I was younger, but I look back now and they were nowhere near, they were so, I don't know, I feel like I actually feel like I'm a good songwriter now, and I look back at my old songs and to me, they weren't written by a good songwriter. They might have had some good ideas, but they weren't very well completed work. So now I would say I feel like I'm a competent songwriter and musician and painter. If that
when you look back on it, is it that the music side of it didn't feel very good compared to what it is now, or is it the lyrics or
everything really just wasn't quite good enough. Like I think it's interesting in the visual art world. You're sort of expected to get better and better. You're a mid-career artist, and then you're meant to sort of. Whereas music, like the music industry, like you finish. If you're not a star by the time you're 30, then obviously you were no good. So they're just looking for the next thing. But I think musically, it's just the same. You actually, the more you play, the more you learn, and the more you practice and know, and the more you practice your art, the better you get at it. And so I look at my songs from back then, and I thought they were good at the time, but I think maybe deep down I knew they weren't good enough, even though I kind of thought they were at the time. But I don't know if I could have done any better at the time. I don't think it was a matter of trying harder. Just didn't have the...
Didn't have 10,000 hours.
Yeah, the 10,000 hours. Yeah, the classic thing. Yeah. Speaking of 10,000 hours, I think I've done 10,000 hours of cooking. I think I've got the cooking.
Yeah, actually, that is worth mentioning as part of your creative work.
Yeah,
for sure. Dave cooks every night and with great pleasure.
But you don't just cook every night. You also make salami and like you are doing the beautiful kind of creative cooking work as well.
Yeah, that's true too. I do look very much at cooking as art, the way I look at music and the way I look at painting or drawing. To me, it's the same kind of thing, really. Colours, blending, textures,
Gardening.
And gardening, too.
Which is quite a creative pursuit as well, I think.
Yeah.
So I love that. So if I was to say, this is Dave, he's a creative muso, artist.
I actually think everything I do, I look through a creative sort of lens at it. It's not just pure. I mean, I don't know how else to look at anything anyway, so I don't know how other people see the world.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, the cat wants to join in.
Come on, Libby.
Cat's fine.
Here we go. Hey.
And you, Alice?
So at the moment, I'd say my main creative work is in the band with Dave. We should really turn that phone off. Anyway, playing cello and knitting. Oh, that's more of a hobby. I'd call that a hobby because I enjoy it, but I'm not very creative at it. I just follow a pattern. I buy the wool at the op shop or buy the and also I've been learning. So I worked as an actor for a long time. I don't do much acting anymore, but when I do I sometimes do work on sort of recording a narration or something like that in audio. I've been getting more and more into sound. All my experience as an actor comes into that. So I feel I enjoy that experience, and I realise there are moments when I think, I did actually build up a bunch of skills around that, around delivery of a script or something. That I kind of forget about until that happens again. So yeah, I mean, I worked as an actor from the age of sort of 10 through to probably 30. And then it's not that I totally ever stopped, but I got interested in other things. So then I suppose that I've done some writing, which has been mostly in history, which while it's mainly been academic writing, there is a creative aspect to that, of course, but it's just a little bit different from the other ones, and you're more constrained by a particular set of requirements or a specific sort of audience. Whereas with music particularly, and I've been playing music since I was a kid, cello since I was 10, and piano, and taught myself mandolin later. So music has always been like a really important part of my life. And there was a point during COVID where I think a lot of us asked ourselves, if the world's going to collapse, what is it that I want to be doing for the, rest of my time? And I thought, actually, music is number one. And so I made a sort of promise to myself that I would play more music. And so that we already had our band, but I think I became more committed to that, and we spent more time together.
And you did the recording course too, don't you?
Yeah, and I started learning how to record music at home, editing and mixing, and discovered I loved that. and that has become a big source of creative pleasure for me too. I definitely go into the zone in audio editing in a way that maybe I don't with many other things other than music. When you just lose all sense of time, and I'm completely involved in it and fascinated by all the possibilities, and but still have so much to learn because I'm still quite new to it. So that's another messy story.
Yeah. I love that though, because I mean, one of the reasons why I wanted to interview you both was I know that you live very creative lives separately and together, and I'm always curious about how people do this. And a lot of people I work with are curious about how creative couples work together. And that's what I'd like to kind of explore a bit more, is where you find the balance in that with each other, and the separate things and the things you do together.
Well, I suppose my initial answer would be it just feels like it just comes naturally. It doesn't feel like it's an effort where we have to sort of put boundaries and, you know, carving out time is probably the hardest thing to. We say, well, let's actually do it on Tuesday afternoon. Let's put it in the diary, stuff like that. Because when you live together and you've got kids, even though they're adults now, it's easy to just roll through a week and have an idea that you don't actually sit down and properly do. But
yeah, particularly because often if we need to work on a song or do a recording or something, it's not usually going to earn us any money. We're just doing it because we want to or need to like we're working on an album at the moment, so we need to prepare songs and we need to do, you know. But other things that earn us money will often, you know, be like, I can't do that today, I've got to go and do that job or something. So, you know, so I think we're getting a little bit better now. So for example, today we agreed that tomorrow we were going to have a good day of recording some overdubs for the album, which we can do here. And if we don't actually put it in the diary, that day will just disappear, and, you know. But I think, you know, you were saying it feels easy, which it does to me too. But I think part of it too is that we've been together a really long time, since 1987. Nearly 30, is that nearly 40 years? It is.
It's nearly
40 years. One decade out. But when we initially, like, we would jam together at home, play music, just mucking around. But we weren't in the same band until 10 years ago or something. So we were in our own bands and we were both active musically, but there was occasional crossover at home, just mucking around. But, you know, so we each, I think, established our own experiences and kind of knowledge and everything through other bands.
And maybe the confidence to know that you can do, confidence to know that you feel confident contributing your part to the thing. Not like,
and I think also we sort of have worked out our complementary skill sets a bit too over the years. Like Dave really is the songwriter. I don't really write songs. I think I'm good on sort of, you know, coming up with, you know, cello parts, and we talk about arrangement and dynamics and, you know.
Let's slow it down here, or or let's
or it might
or
be
that bit goes
do
too
we
long.
repeat this or not, or you know, those sorts of decisions. So I think that makes it simpler. Also, there's two other people in our band. One of them, Dee, who has been in the band from the beginning, so from 10 years ago. I have known since I was a little kid, and we've played in a few bands together. And so that, when we come together to rehearse new songs, that feels easy too, because it's been going on for so long. So I think in some ways, I don't know, I just think there's some of the elements that make it
Yeah.
easier to.
One of our neighbours, we won't name names, recently said to Alice, how do you and Dave work together? Do you drive each other crazy? I said, well, not really. No. Oh yeah, so it's sort of on an emotional and creative level, it feels very easy and natural to work together. It doesn't feel like it's it doesn't come with any sort of
we don't have to
baggage
fight
or
or anything. We've never been fighters anyway.
No.
Like we're both pretty.
We're both lovers, not fighters.
It helps.
But it is a question that does come up a lot with creators. That, you know, how do other people, if they have a partner who is creative, is there going to be a kind of total war between who gets to go? Who gets to kind of take up that space creatively? Because it can sometimes feel like it needs a lot of space, especially if you get into that flow state and, you know, no one's going to be fed because you're deep in a painting or...
Yeah. I think, well, maybe because we've both been doing it in some form, either separately or together since we were teenagers or whatever, that we've always understood that the other might have a time like that. So if Dave's getting ready for an exhibition, there'll be a few weeks where he will just disappear into the studio. He'll usually still come in and wants to cook as a break from that. But we know the patterns. So it's like we'll say to each other, I'm going to be working on this intensely for the next couple of weeks. Just so you know, I'm going to be...
Yeah, and Alice actually reasonably regularly is overseas working or interstate or something, working for a few weeks or something. So that's just part of what we know is what our lives are, you know. But there's no territorial sort of battle over who wrote what bit or... don't change that bit, that's my best bit, you know, or you sort of you have to be willing to let things go. You just go, look, that bit, I'm trying to force it into the song, but it just doesn't work. It's interesting because I also work creatively as a visual artist with a friend of mine, Nick Morris, and we paint canvases together. And that's a whole different thing because you're literally painting over somebody else's stuff.
Wow.
Or, you know, crossing something out. And our paintings end up kind of wild and ragged and mad.
Yeah.
But we sort of negotiated that pretty well too, you know. You have to have good humour and you have to be willing to let go of stuff, you know. You can't be precious about every little bit, you know, that you wrote.
I'm curious about this, like painting together on the same canvas, because I think that's slightly different to composing and performing. How did you go into that relationship to go, hey, why don't we just try painting together?
Well, I think with the Basquiat and Warhol did it. And I think we saw that film and we thought, well, let's do that. That sounds like fun. Okay. And kind of we approached it with the idea of it would be fun. And we have very different styles too. Like the guy I was painting with mainly was doing silkscreen printing, so images, logos, stuff like that. And I was all hand drawn wild sort of colours and stuff like that. So there were two very different elements. So we could work together. I think it'd be different if we were both using the same mediums, or if I was silkscreen printing as well. I think that would be a totally different thing. But it's I think the thing with
Okay.
the thing with the songwriting, it's a different thing because you can always keep that bit and put it into a different song if there's a bit you like. But with painting, it's painted over, it's gone. But I can give you some images if you want.
Yeah, that'd be really good.
If that helps
definitely
show you what our paintings were like. don't really do it anymore. We just ran out of time. He lives down in Torquay, and it was just too hard to keep driving backwards and forwards, and other things took over.
Do you have a routine for your creative work?
No.
Not really. There's there's kind of a general pattern.
Yeah.
Is that I will come up with a song. I get to the point where I would think I'm ready to bring it to the band, and Alice and I will sort of nut it out, and then when I think it's in a good enough shape for that, we'll send just a rough recording and a sheet to Dee, so she knows what the song is, and then then the three of us will get together and work it out. And some songs come together pretty quickly, but others,
some we've been working on for years.
They take years, and I keep changing them and meddling with them like a mad professor.
And then
putting
we
it
think
back
we've
in
got
the
it
laboratory.
all worked out, and then we'll have a band practice, and Dave goes, "Well, I've decided I've cut out this whole section, or I've got this whole new section." It's like, but usually it does mean a better song. It's just that we have to accept that it's never quite complete until we record
Until
it.
you record it, then it's done.
Then you can re-record it differently, but usually once we've recorded it pretty much we keep playing it in that way.
Yeah. But if there's something in a song that just bugs you every time you play it, you go, it's just like a dripping tap or something, you just can't ignore it. I've just got to fix that. Next time you play it, and then you play it over and over again, and you go back to old versions of it, and then you think, what's sometimes you really can't work out what the problem is. Maybe it's like somebody, doing a racing car, and there's one little thing that doesn't work, and you have to pull the whole car apart to find that noise that's giving you the shits, and you'd think it'd be easy with a song. Come on, it can't be that hard, but sometimes you really can't work out
why it's not quite
working. There's something not quite hanging together here.
Have you ever recorded a song that you're like, oh, no, that's got to pull that?
Yeah. In fact, on our last recording, we went in recording 6 songs, and one of them just didn't gel.
Hang together. And so often in that case, it may not have been the song itself. It was just on that particular day. The tempo was not quite right, or we just weren't quite in it.
Yeah, and then we were working on it and trying to patch it up and fix it. And I just, at some point I said, let's just admit that this one just...
Yeah.
We'll do it, save it for later. Let's focus on the 5 songs that we did well. Like, if, you bake 5 cakes in a row and one of them doesn't rise or something, but it's the same recipe, or there was just something wrong with the oven that day or something,
It gets put in the compost.
Yep, bang.
Or to the chickens.
Yeah. It turned into eggs.
Yeah.
Who, what, or where do you get your inspiration from?
Oh, there's no simple answer to that. Sometimes you'll have an idea that will... Well, I'll just give you one example. The song we're working on, which is going to be our next single, it's called Brooklyn Wind. And I was watching Brooklyn 19 with the kids, and I was thinking, Brooklyn 19, I wonder what the postcode for Brooklyn is here. And you could do a so-called Brooklyn, it's 3012. Brooklyn 3012 has I can write a song about Brooklyn as a bit of a Brooklyn. And then I thought, and then I started thinking about writing a song about Brooklyn, and I thought, because I'm from the western suburbs and I like to write songs about the sort of landscape and places around here. And I thought, what's the specific about Brooklyn? I was driving through Brooklyn and that wind, that stinky wind.
For those who don't know Brooklyn, who might be listening to this,
everyone knows it.
It's very industrial.
It's from the tip, it's from the tannery, it's from the abattoir. It's this heady blend on a westerly. And I remember playing footy in that wind when I used to play for St Albans, and used to play all those teams along the river. Seddon, Yarraville, Spotswood. You know, there's a whole strip of them, and they all were in that wind. And it's a westerly, and it's winter, and it's blowing in. And anyway, so I thought, well, I'll write a song about the Brooklyn wind. So that's how that idea started, with me just watching Brooklyn one night. And then you think about Brooklyn, and then you're right. Then the imagery comes from Brooklyn itself. You know, the trucks, the tannery, the creek, Corridor Creek, I think it is, and the landscape, and you just sort of immerse yourself in that, and then the lyrics sort of come, and then other times, you know, you might have a really nice melody and a really nice chord progression and stuff, but you've got nothing. It's not about anything, so you then have to go hunting for something to write it about. And sometimes it might be a particular phrase that has to have the right syllables in the right order for it to work. The song off our EP, Carolina, was one of those songs. I had that la da da da, la da da da, and I just couldn't think of a word that fit there. You know, da 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 da, and I'd walk around for, you know, months and months. What word can go in there? You know, melanoma. You know, pizzeria, cannelloni. It's got to be something that fits. And then I thought, well, Carolina, that fits nicely. And then I started doing some Googling Carolina in America, the state. Maybe something I would write about, something that happened there, a mining accident or being. And then I thought, and then nothing really came up that inspired me. And then I remembered a girl I'd gone to school with. Her name was actually Caroline, but I thought, she'll do. I'll base the song on her. And the interesting part to her story is that she was the doctor's daughter, and they lived in a 2-story house.
Oh,
now, out in St Albans, they weren't 2-story houses. I look back now, I think it was just an A-frame. Yeah. But anyway, at some point in secondary school, her father sent her off to probably a posh private school, and she was gone for a few years, and then when she came back, she just kind of had this sheen about her that the other girls didn't have. You couldn't hardly tell. It's almost like her school dress was tailored differently, or something like that, or she just had better shampoo, or there was just something about her, but she hadn't really changed that much. She was still like one of the tough girls and smoked and all that kind of stuff, and I sort of imagined this thing where she would have gone to this fancy school, and she wouldn't have fit in there, coming from St Albans. No way. She wouldn't have fit in there. And I don't know if she got bullied or she got expelled, but anyway, she didn't last there. And then she came back, but she had enough sheen rub on her that she didn't quite fit in back with the girls at our school anymore. She kind of was a bit too posh, or I don't know, just a bit too fashionable or something. Anyway, so I just sort of invented a song about that, about her. And that just came from trying to find a word that would go la da da da.
Yeah.
And then about a month before we released our EP, there were like 2 huge hits called Carolina that came out. One of them was by, what's his name, who was in...
Harry Shears?
Yeah, no, not Harry Shears. That's Spinal Tap.
That's Spinal Tap. What's his name?
Harry from One Direction.
Harry.
You know.
Oh.
Anyway,
yeah.
And we're like, oh no, what hope is our little
and
song
the other one
got?
was Tay Tay.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
So the 2 biggest stars in the world put a song out called Carolina.
You're in the zeitgeist.
Yeah. Anyway, there are actually many songs out there called Carolina. Dave's now threatening to spell it with a K. So
yeah, just a K and a Y.
Yeah.
But yeah, so song ideas can come from anywhere.
What about painting?
Painting is a bit harder, like my recent shows I've done a theme. try to find something small and overlooked and beautiful and sort of celebrate that. So my last show was I did a whole lot of paintings of, you know, the souvenir teaspoons, the old, and I just took those images and blew them up rather large, and then basically just copied them exactly as they were, just presented them. So that was like a single idea. Then I do like 12 or 15 of those. It's sort of different from songwriting, where I think that my challenge now with my art is to just use my natural painting technique and style, and then just paint anything using that style, which is, I think, what you're kind of meant to do, because my other style is a very design sort of driven. So yeah, sometimes I think it's easier to come up with a song idea, because it can kind of come from anywhere. Sometimes to come up with a painting idea. So you can write songs about themes that other people have written about, a broken heart, you know, relationship breaking up, or stuff like that. And I suppose as an artist, you can also paint a nude. Everyone paints nudes, everyone paints still lives, you know. It's just finding your own style and how to do it in your own way. Somehow seems to be harder as an artist, I think, than a songwriter. But maybe other people would find it the other way around. I've kind of talked myself into a loop there, haven't I?
Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
You have. Because I'm wondering whether is your art trying to explore a certain theme, or you know, in story writing we say that, you know, the writers are generally trying to answer a question, and quite often it's the same question that they are continuing to ask novel after novel.
I feel like with my visual art, because I haven't been doing a lot of work lately, I've basically been doing one show a year, and then that show would be like a new idea. Like this year, I'm going to do all teaspoons. The year before that, I painted native birds. I'm going to do all birds. I did birds for a few years, just birds. And then before that, I did, you know, stencil pieces of art of footy players with the like drop punts, not bombs. So you could look at, so say the exhibition of the footy players, and then the exhibition of the birds, and then the exhibition of the teaspoons, all could easily be totally different artists. You wouldn't. But so, and I kind of feel like I'm almost got to the point where I don't want to do those kind of theme-based shows anymore. I want to focus on my own technique and stop. And like, it's almost like the teaspoon. It's almost like it's a gimmick. What can I think of the next gimmick that no one else has done before? Instead of just painting paintings, if you know what I mean.
But I wonder what has drawn you to each of those ideas.
Well, if I just focus on the teaspoon one, I just think they're really quite beautiful objects. The old ones, you know, with the enamel and the steel work. They're like everything else. Everything's been uglified. Then those printed off a computer or a blob stuck on it. Just, and I just thought, oh, that's a really underappreciated, beautiful little art. Someone actually decided, in this tiny piece of steel, I'm going to represent, you know, Kuma, yeah, or Terang, you know. And, you know, there's a hill, there's a cow, there's a thing. And some of them, the landscape ones are really beautiful. Like and they'd used strange colours too, like a mauve sort of cliff. And anyway, so I just thought it'd be nice to just blow them up really big and have them as large pieces of artwork. So that was a pretty simple
It's almost like the lost things or the forgotten things.
Yeah. it's sort of, I kind of like it that it's unpretentious art. It's yeah, it's no grand theme, you know.
Yeah. Alice, what inspires who, what or where inspires your creative?
Yeah, that's actually really hard for me to answer. I mean, I think when it comes to music, I really like improvising and just making stuff up on the cello. But, and I'll do that happily. Like Dave a few years ago bought me a loop pedal, and I just thought I'd gone to heaven. Like it was, you know, lay down a drone and then just make up some stuff over the top and then make another layer. But often it wouldn't necessarily have a song structure. In fact, it never has a song structure. I've never been a songwriter really, and I just sort of like to follow some musical thread and see where it goes and try different harmonic sort of structures and things. But it's not, I'm not going, all right, I need to do, you know, verse, chorus, verse, you know, bridge, etc. So I often will create something, but then it's not really anything. It's just it might sound nice, but it's not like something you would release, you know. So what's been nice about when Dave brings a song is that I have something to bounce off, or something to kind of within which to contain some of those sorts of ideas. And so I guess, you know, you sort of provide a structure, and then I can go, I'd like to try this here, and that might go here.
Yeah, and that's something that we want to do more of too, with the loop pedal.
Yeah, like maybe start with one of my loops, and then Dave can go, all right, I'll take that and turn it into something. So that's something that we talk about doing. And then as far as other sorts of projects, I do a lot of work in oral history, and I've been actually quite inspired in recent years to make things using oral history, and this is still something, a work in progress, that I haven't really got to where I want to go yet. But I've become aware from recording oral histories for many years that there's this gold mine in all of the collections, library, oral history collections, archives. They're just sitting there, you know, these stories that people have. And I started thinking about how could I help pull these out of the archive and send them out into the world in a form that people might actually listen to them, because most people won't go and listen to a 12-hour interview with someone they've never heard of, you know. So that's something that continues to feed me in various ways, and I sort of keep thinking about what can I do with that? Can I take that somewhere? So that's something that I know, because I continue to do more interviews, I'm sure that will continue to be a source of inspiration. But what I actually do with that is still something I'm figuring out.
But that's the kind of play stage of it, isn't it?
Yeah. And also the act of interviewing people, I find, you know, and even like, I don't know, you probably experience this yourself because you're doing all these interviews, but I find because I spend a lot of time listening to people, I'm quite happy just sitting there and listening. Like I've developed a strong listening habit. And so if I'm in a car with a taxi driver or something, like I had a really great conversation with a driver the other day who told me about his wife who died when she was 41 and he was left with their 5 kids. And, you know, but this was a 10-minute drive, and it was sort of, somehow you realise that you've developed a thing where people will feel comfortable to talk. And that's something really precious, and that I doesn't always happen, but there are just those moments where you feel, oh, this person has let me into their an important moment in their life.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't have to do anything with it either. That in itself is an experience that is just something to acknowledge that you've had, and that teaches you something about the world. So that being an interviewer and listening to a lot of people telling their stories has been a really wonderful thing. Yeah.
I would agree. I love hearing people's stories. I always have, and I think that's what kind of drew me to doing this. I grew up with an old lady across the road, and I'd just go there every day after school and
just listen to it.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
So all those oral stories just sitting there waiting to be listened to, which probably a lot of people don't realise they can probably go to their library and listen to some stories. Writers out there, go and listen to the stories.
Yeah.
If you were to, someone who's be chatting with someone who's kind of new to, or trying to find their legs in the creative world in whatever area, what piece of advice, maybe even think about it in a couple who are trying to be creative together, or people singly trying to do it, what wisdom would you want to kind of share with them?
I don't know. Find the right person for a start would help. I think one thing that I think is important, and it's easy to not do it, especially when you get to our age and when you've had kids and you get is to be part of the community around you. That go to see bands that you want to play music with, and go to venues where you want to do a gig. Go to galleries, go to exhibition openings. Be in the world that you want to be part of, which is something that I really didn't do enough of for the last, decade or so. But I think that's pretty good advice. I mean, that's something simple that you can do. That's not even buying equipment or practicing stuff or anything like that. That's just that's sort of the bottom building blocks of it.
That's solid advice too.
Yeah.
Be in the community.
Yeah, I would agree with that also. When I got interested in doing audio stuff, I just started joining different groups online, because that was during COVID, and ended up sort of making some friends in that community that I've stayed in touch with, and we bounce ideas off each other. And I was just going to second what you said about getting out there, and for that it may not be possible for everyone to go to the places that they would like to go to. If you're living remotely, or you're stuck at home, or you're a carer, or whatever, or you've got a disability or something. But there are things going on online as well, communities that are there that are very supportive of newcomers. And I've definitely found that with the audio community, just a very generous and sort of lots of skill sharing and knowledge sharing, and people who, including really experienced people who are willing to answer questions and give good advice and recommend stuff to listen to. And so I think that is important. As far as being a couple, I think that it is important to acknowledge that each of you will need to have space. If you're working separately, especially, that you kind of maybe give each other a bit of warning about, I know that I'm going to be kind of unavailable for the next week because I've got this deadline, or I've got obsessed with this thing that I'm making. Can you just give me some space to do that? And if you take turns doing that, then nobody gets pissed off.
And the only way it's going to be better is if you actually help that person do what they need to do. By giving them the space, cooking the dinner, etc., picking them up at the airport, whatever it is, to make it easier for them to do what they have to do is going to have better results than making it harder for them
Yeah.
to do what they have to do.
And I think if you are both doing creative stuff, it's easier to see, I think, that that's a necessity on both sides. But maybe if there's just one of you in the couple and the other one is doing maybe a full-time job and, you know, different set of stuff that they have to deal with, that might be a different sort of negotiation. But I think that's helped us, I think.
And also, like, maybe just be prepared to know that you're just going to earn less than other people in the neighbourhood. You know, you're not going to have the new car that they've got, and you're not going to have the stuff. But ultimately, it's worth it. You know, it's worth the life and the creativity and the freedoms are worth it. You know,
because if you're denying yourself that, and you are a creative person, then you'll be miserable not doing it.
Yeah. There'll be you'll never be satisfied or something or whatever. Plenty of good clothes in op shops.
Yeah. Op shops are great.
Yeah. Second-hand cars still get you to where you want to go. You know.
Yeah, 30-year-old car.
And you don't care if they get scratched as much and stuff like that. But that's a really sort of, and then the other thing, of course, is try to get good at what you want to do. You know, practice, and maybe like kind of, this is the hard one, to not be deluded about how good your work is. You know,
be prepared to keep without sort of being, because that's the other flip side is that people can talk themselves out of it.
Yeah.
You know, so but it is good to get feedback from other people and be prepared to maybe hear critical stuff too. And that's hard, but I think that's important.
What is home for your creative work?
As in the sort of space where it happens, or
what does it mean for you and your creative work?
Oh, you mean
home? Any sense of home?
Yeah.
I'm kind of not really sure what the question is.
What feels like home for your creative work? Is it being in your studio? Is it?
I think for me, being on stage as performing the songs is home for me, or in the studio. I love being in the studio recording. We're recording at the moment. But really, I think on stage to a live audience, it feels like home to me as a songwriter, as a performer.
Yeah, I was going to say, just when it comes to music, just wherever the cello is, like if I've got that, it doesn't really matter where I am. I mean, well, ideally it's with people that I want to play music with, but the actual space in a way is secondary to the fact of having the instrument and being and having an exchange with other musicians, whether it's Dave and Dee and Al, or whether it's other people that you might happen to sit down and play some tunes with.
That's the other thing that, the interaction with other musicians as part of the live experience is great. The spontaneous things, the looks, the
adjustments that you have to make when something doesn't go to plan, or someone changes something and you just have to deal with it,
improvise.
And then the times when you just feel like, we are just really on. That just sounds so good. We're just on. We're all locked in. This is great. This is beautiful.
And then other times when, if things do start to fall apart, you look at each other and you can just smile about, like you reach a point where you're not, we've stuffed up, but whatever, that's part of it. And then you move on Whereas I think when I was younger, that used to freak me out more. I'd be more worried about making mistakes. But that's something nice about getting older and having more experience, and also thinking about yourself as someone who's watching and listening. Personally, if I'm watching a band and someone makes a mistake and you see a little exchange, I actually like that. It's human, they're real, they're responding to each other. You know, it's part of the live experience. So once you realise that people in the audience might even enjoy it if you make a mistake, then you feel much less worried about it.
I think we are craving more of that, you know, in a time where a lot of things feel less human.
Yeah.
It's interesting with Ted, who's just done fine art at VCA, that rejection of CGI and AI and perfectly, you know, rendered things, and he and I can see in the work of the other artists there, look for that really bad digital stuff, like really clunky.
From like the early 80s.
Yeah, like from an old, outdated camera, so it's really badly pixelated. But they're actually chasing that flawed imagery, even though it's still digital. Not everything's digital, but when they use digital imagery, they're kind of looking for the really technology, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. When
they could get a perfectly beautiful, you know. But I just hate all the AI imagery that's coming out now. Oh, it all looks the same. Like people are using the same program, and it's just so characterless, and it's sort of depressing. It actually makes me feel a heavy weight inside of myself when I see it. And that's not even philosophical. That's just visually it looks like heavy and lifeless and ugly to me.
Yeah, so let's just keep being human.
Yeah, so keep making mistakes.
Making mistakes.
Yeah, and instruments themselves are imperfect.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know. They
can
go out of tune, a string can break, yeah. They feed back.
Thank you so much for your time.
No worries, a pleasure.
I really hope you enjoyed that conversation with Alice and Dave, and you know, thanks Alice and Dave for your time and for being so open about the realities of living and creating together. There will be links, as always, to all of the things that Alice and Dave do, mostly about Sunshine Tip and their music, and the links to where you can find them. The show notes, you'll be able to also find how to find Dave's artwork, which is absolutely stunning, and I do recommend going and checking it out. I loved so many of the things that came up in this conversation with them. The things about, you know, what really makes a good relationship for a creative couple. And I think they're pretty much rules for life. It's about communicating and being able to understand where one needs more time to spend on their own doing their thing, and the other can kind of pick up the weight of the work that needs to be done. And you know, their wisdom that they shared was just so beautiful, and you know, they both had quite a lot of things to share on that front, and I think, you know, the one thing I really took out of it, which I think everyone can take out of it, is keep making mistakes. Like keep doing things and making mistakes. Be as human as we can, because that's where we differ to the AI generated stuff, guff, crap, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, if you enjoyed this episode, please do like, share, subscribe, follow, do all the things, because all of that stuff helps other creatives find these interviews with creatives. And, you know, hopefully it helps them to discover new ways into their creative work, or maybe feel that what they're doing is actually on the right path. Because, if you're a creative, you will understand that there are times where you just think, am I doing the right thing or not? And what my hope is that these interviews are helping people do that. Until next time, I hope that you continue to be creative in whatever way you need to be. And thank you so much for listening. I'm Meg Dunley, and you've been listening to Creative Momentum with Meg. See you later.